All right, and welcome to I Don't Speak German, episode 130 something. I don't know. I lost count of the numbers a long time ago. And today, from the title, you will know we are turned to one of our perennial favorite topics. Unfortunately, Jack had something come up, and he will not be able to make it with us today. He's fine. He's just having a bad night. And in his stead, I have asked. Actually, I asked before this, but I we have a guest, a very special guest, someone who has long I've wanted to get on this podcast. Welcome, Molly Conger. I don't speak German.
I'm so glad to be here for this in particular.
I think there really was a moment we were DMing and it just sort of turned into a okay, we have to talk about that because
Oh boy.
I don't know. So we are going to be discussing Chris Cantwell. And I think most of our listeners already know who Molly is and knows who Chris Cantwell is. So we'll kind of go light on this. But Molly, you have a project that, people, I can't imagine there are many people, but people listening to this might not be aware of what you do over at With Little Guys. So talk to us a little bit about your project, about your podcast.
Yeah, I just started year 2 of my show, Weird Little Guys. If you're a listener of I Don't Speak German and you haven't checked out Weird Little Guys, I think you'll like it. I mean, I'm biased in that, but I think if you like this show, you'll like Weird Little Guys. They are sort of biographical vignettes about exactly what it says on the tin. The kind of guy that's just, he wants to be Hitler, but he's just a little fucking freak.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And God, give us a rundown, just some of the figures, because I've listened to every episode. Actually, pardon me, I'm too behind because I'm perpetually behind on everything. Because after the Charlie Kirk thing, I spent like 3 days doing nothing but listening to Charlie Kirk content. But
Oh no.
yes,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, multiple hours a day of from material from Charlie Kirk or about Charlie Kirk. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been fun.
So I pick movement figures that are sort of, a lot of them are lesser known or unknown even. I found a couple of guys that I'd never even heard of that there's just nothing out there about. But God, I spent 3 months writing about Dennis Mahon, the guy who came up in White Aryan Resistance, who ended up in prison for sending a mail bomb to the diversity office in Arizona. I spent a couple of months writing about white supremacist terrorism in South Africa in the 80s. That was a weird journey. Most recently, I was writing about the American Third Position Party.
Yeah.
Which
is I'm familiar. I'm familiar.
You know those guys.
I know the A3P because I listen to James Edwards' podcast every.
He's on the board still.
Yes, he is. He is on the board, and he brings a lot of the people. I think he still refers to it as American Freedom Party sometimes. So it's or was it originally A3P?
It was A3P, and then they changed to AFP. They're AFP now.
I think he uses it both ways from time to time. Anyway, I've been listening to James Edwards since like 2016. So
that's a bad ride.
And that's every week. It used to be every Sunday because he records on Saturdays or releases on Sunday mornings, and it was just my Sunday routine for a while. And now it's not every Sunday, but I've listened to every episode since then. So
I didn't, even when I was writing about American Freedom Party, I didn't listen to any political cesspool. I can't do it. I don't have your stamina.
The way you do it is something that I feel like you and I have a complementary skill sets, because like the way you do it is you go in to look at like court documents and archives and recent newspaper stuff. I mean, tell me what sorry, just for me, I'm just geeking out here getting to ask about this. I have you in the hot seat now. I get to implore you.
Tell me, can wait.
Tell me, how do you do it? Like what's the process? Because a lot of this stuff, I mean, you've been researching for years, and then you just kind of. I do the same thing. I've been researching for years, something pops up. It's like, well, we're talking about this today, But obviously, what I'm doing is just, listening to these guys incessantly talk, and you're doing something a lot more thorough. So, I mean, I'm just wondering, what is a typical day for
it's a nightmare. It's a
yes,
nightmare,
well, yeah, of
Daniel.
course it is. Of course it is.
No, I love to make. I've talked about this before. I like to make a timeline. That's sort of my starting point, as like this sort of biographical timeline, and I flesh it out. And so sometimes by the time I write an episode, I have like a 30-page single-spaced bulleted list of every day of a man's life where I can put him on paper.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like between newspapers, like genealogical records, like court records, their own public statements, social media, their family social media. And so I'll have just this bulleted list of every place I can ever like pin down for sure this is where he was and what he was doing. And then you just sort of go from there. So like this week I'm writing about The episode that just came out today, and then there'll be a second one next week, a part 2 to that. The guy that killed Rockwell,
Yes.
right? So, and there's there's a bit of information about Patler, John Patler, the guy that killed George Lincoln Rockwell, but I'm sort of trying to piece together because there's no biography about John Patler. So I read a bunch of biographies of Rockwell and a biography about Dan Burroughs. And, I'm looking at genealogical records, court records from his brother. His brother murdered his girlfriend in the 80s. And so sort of piecing together from all these like ancillary sources. Like I read every issue of Stormtrooper magazine from the early 60s. I'm just, and I don't know what I'm looking for, but I'll know it when I see it. It's like pornography.
Yeah, I know. Well, a topic that will probably come back up again. Come up. We're gonna be talking about that. Well, anyway, check out Weird Little Guys. It's amazing. It's astonishingly well researched. I mean, people ask me how I do it, and I'm like, it's difficult. I get it. It's pain every day. Then I look at what Molly does, and I'm like, I got the easy job. All I do, I just carry these guys around with me all the time. I mean, but like meticulously documenting it like that. That's honestly, if there's one thing I wish it was like. I wish it was something I could show people like in written form, because some people just resist the podcast format. I mean, I don't speak German so much, like it's like we're chatting, about this stuff, but yeah, I want there to be like transcripts that I can send people for people who are like, oh, I don't listen to a podcast. It's like, no, this isn't that kind of podcast,
Well, if you know a literary agent, get me a book deal.
Well, yeah, harder than you think. Anyway.
Right.
Okay, so all that aside, we are here to do something very important, which is to talk about the most, what Jack would probably say, like the most pathetic man we've ever covered on I Speak German.
I mean, it's so pathetic that like I stopped talking about him in public because it felt cruel.
And honestly, there's gonna have to kind of talk through some of this, and like this podcast is edited, so if we get into places that are uncomfortable, we get to cut them out.
The ethics of kicking a man while he's down.
Well, and the ethics of describing some of the things he's done is also like sort of becomes an issue.
Yeah.
And so I guess in the way that you I'm asking you to describe people who don't know you, which is one thing. Now I'm going to ask you I've talked about Chris Cantwell enough on this podcast. Give us your synopsis of who was Chris Cantwell up to about 2023,
Right. So this is your first time listening to I Don't Speak German, and you've never heard of Christopher Charles Cantwell.
If you bring audience over, it's entirely possible nobody's heard of Chris Cantwell. Or there will be people who never heard of Chris Cantwell.
If you just woke up from a coma that you've been in since before 2017, you may not know the crying Nazi.
Yes, indeed. So I guess he was a former libertarian. He had some trouble with the law as a teenager.
You'll have to put a link in the show notes to the video of the Free Keene Squad from that episode of the Colbert Report from like 2013.
Yeah, there's man. You and I could sit for 4 hours and just riff on Cantwell, so we can't do
the deep lore. Because he used to be like an anarcho-capitalist, libertarian. He's been through phases. He was involved with the Free Keene people, that libertarian utopian society in Keene, New Hampshire.
Well, and the Free Keene Project was only
they all went
of the
to
Free
prison.
State Project, right? Because the Free State Project they decided, the libertarian movement in the 2010s decided that New Hampshire was the state most amenable to like their way of life, and was small enough that they could, if enough people moved to New Hampshire, they could take over and just like insert in the like, I guess, succeed from the United States, or at least like it was this utopian project of like, but then again, getting people to move to a particular place because of abstract political ideas. Basically the only people who went were a bunch of weirdos and crazies for the most part.
And the guys that stuck it out in Free Keene all went to prison for a crypto scam.
Yeah, well, there's that too.
That's a different story.
I think really what we're learning is that you and I need to do a collab project that's just walking through the steps of Chris Cantwell's life.
The deep lore. So yeah, he transitioned from being, an anarcho-capitalist, libertarian, whatever he thought that meant.
Yeah.
I think he lost he used to actually have a broadcast job, right? That he lost for saying the N-word on the air.
Yeah,
and
he worked for Free Talk Live for a while, and I think he had a previous job prior than that. So
he had like a real job at some point.
Yeah.
And he said the N-word on the air and he got in trouble. And so like a lot of guys, his freedoms were abridged, right? He was censored, he was punished, he was canceled for his free speech, saying the N-word on the air.
On broadcast radio, yes.
And then he became a Nazi.
Yeah. He just, as you do, it was 2016, and you just you're far enough right and you start doing the race realist shit, and then eventually you become a Nazi. And then you march into Charlottesville and you're one of the guys on the poster. I remember you were asking me
Right.
for
He was a headline speaker.
I remember you asked me at one point, sorry, I'm not giving it away our secrets, but you were texting me, you were DMing me or something, and you were working on something where you're like, who were the leaders? Who was like a named person? Do you have a list? And I'm like, well, I have the poster. I like sent you a link to the poster, and you're like, perfect. And he's like, I think third on the poster or something like that. I mean, it was like
Yeah.
Spencer and Enoch was on there, and
Invictus,
I think that,
Kessler.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
all the original weird little guys. It's almost like that's the Beatles,
And they're all doing
all the
so
little,
well
they're all
today.
doing so well. Yeah. Oh
Did you
God.
see Richard Spencer's new mustache?
I have I
Not
have
good.
seen I have seen much of his facial hair over the years. I don't track Richard Spencer on the daily these days. I kind of just, he kind of decided he wanted to pretend to be a liberal, and I did like one more episode. It's like he's not a liberal, he's just a racist who doesn't like Donald Trump and the Republicans. And
Many such cases.
then I just stopped watching him entirely, except to just note when other Nazis went on his show. It was sort of like one of those things. But
But yeah, so, Cantwell committed some assaults at Unite the Right. He did a little time in our local jail here for
yep,
assault. And then he went home. He went back to New Hampshire and he became increasingly insane. He was trying to hold on to relevance by moving further and further right. Some of it was a bit,
he
some of it was for attention, some of it he genuinely believed.
he
It's
was he
hard to
was
say.
he was tormented by accelerationist Nazis in the Bull Patrol.
Well, because he tried to get into their friend group, right? Like at
Yeah,
first they were friends and then they turned on him because that's what guys like that do.
right.
And it broke him. And then he went to federal prison for saying he was going to rape one of their wives.
Yes, yes, very. In a trial that we covered on this podcast with Hillary Sargent from the show Hillary Sargent. Yes,
What a treat that trial was. God bless Hillary.
yes, no.
And then when he got out of prison, not quite 2 years ago, was it? No, it was a little over 2 years ago. It was at the end of 2022, right? So
Yeah, something
early
like that. Yeah.
2023, he's out of prison. He's trying to get back into podcasting and no one gives a shit. He became best friends with Victor Boot in prison. He
Yes,
tried to ride that to relevance, didn't work out.
did not work out.
And then he started doing this bit. I think it was last spring. So it was a year and a half ago. He started doing this bit on his show where he was on Grinder.
That's kind of where I left him, because that was kind of the last like big like episode I did about, because he started talking about going on Grinder, and like he's like, I forget if like he was gonna like infiltrate, and he was gonna like expose like the networks of how like gay and like that it's all subversives like working
And
in
he was,
the
yeah, he's like, oh, I'm just going to like show you how gross these guys are.
yeah,
And my
yeah,
first thought when I first saw it was like, there are documented instances of, far right guys, homophobes, violent kind of guys. Like I think some former
yeah,
TWP guys did something like this where they tricked a guy into thinking they were going to come to a secluded area to hook up and then they did something violent to him. So my first
right,
thought was like, that's what he's doing. And
right.
it wasn't. It
It was
wasn't a
not. Well,
trick. Well, it
and
was
at
a
the
trick.
it was a trick. Well, and at the time, I mean, I remember as I played some of the audio, right? That Cantwell like recorded during one of those sessions, and I don't remember if I had decided to keep the person he was interviewing
It
on
was
mic or
sad.
not. But
It
it
was
was very
sad.
much like I don't want to things that I said were I don't want to victimize this guy further, because there's no
Right.
way Cantwell has really explained to this guy who he is and what his history
He's
is.
not being honest.
He's not being honest, and there's something like deliberately manipulative. And I said something to the effect of, "If you are this person and you hear the sound of your voice, reach out, and I will remove those segments or take the episode
Yeah.
down or whatever." And that, and nobody ever reached out to me on that. I mean, it's just one of those things. But I feel obligated to kind of, and it turns out things like that would have been bad enough. It's like every time we do another Cantwell bit, it's like things have just gotten a little bit worse. We skipped over huge amounts of Cantwell's history here. We'll probably refer to some of it later on, but we're trying to get to the new stuff here. Okay, so I basically stopped once. I always kind of the opinion, if you stop broadcasting, if you stop your propaganda, you're not my problem anymore, right? You're my problem so long as you're putting words out into the world. As long as you're putting content out that is manipulating public opinion. And once he stopped doing that, because he was in a real job, whatever went on in his life, I now know more about what went on in his life. It's kind of like, well, if he starts broadcast again, I'm sure it will come across my feed and I will start, listening again. But I have other things to do than just follow Chris Cantwell around, as do you. But you tracking him, I guess, on his Telegram and such.
You
And
know,
so,
I keep sort of loose tabs on a long roster of guys, right? And like
sure.
for a long time, I was very interested in what Cantwell was up to because he was in active litigation with two friends of ours. You know,
Yeah.
he had harmed my community, he had harmed people I care about. He was talking about me personally. So for years, I was keeping close tabs on this man because he was like, I don't know, telling his listeners where I live and that they should come hurt me there. So, you know, I was checking it out. I was keeping
Right.
tabs. But then as he became
Sorry, not to discount that at all or
no,
anything
yeah, I
like
mean,
that.
it's water under the bridge at this point. He's hurt
Right,
himself more than he could ever have hurt me. But, you know, so I was keeping close tabs for a long time. Then he went to prison and I sort of, you know, I don't really, he's gone away. And he gets out of prison and I'm, you know, keeping an eye. You know, I want to know where this man is that has threatened to rape me to death. I want to know where he is.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, about a year ago, he kind of just stopped
Yeah.
like he stopped doing his show. He was posting less and less. He was really irrelevant. He had no real following. And so it's like, I don't need to keep track of this guy anymore because like he's living in a halfway house in New Hampshire and he doesn't have a podcast anymore. Like he can't hurt me.
Yeah.
But it turns out he was still hurting other people.
Right.
So
Not just himself, but other people.
He's like physically hurting people. So, you know, last year he's doing the grinder thing. People are making fun of him. He's losing traction. He's losing followers. And so he stops podcasting. And then earlier this year, I think it was in March, he was arrested on a charge of strangulation. And I saw that. I think I found it first, and then someone wrote an article about it. So I saw that he'd been arrested, and there was an article written about it. And the journalist that wrote the article, I think it was in The Independent, uncovered that it was a strangulation charge, and the victim was male, and the police report had marked it down as a domestic violence incident. And so then you were wondering, what does that mean? What does that mean?
What does that mean? Yes.
What does that mean? Because the address where it happened was the halfway house where he was living, and it was domestic violence.
Yes.
And so it turns out the young man that he, I guess, allegedly strangled, because that case hasn't gone to trial yet, for reasons we will get to. It was a young man that he met on Grindr for sex. And so we have known, Daniel, you and I have known for 6 months. Like, I mean, I think we've suspected for longer than that, but we have known for sure. We have known ironclad for sure for 6 months that he fucks men. And we didn't say anything.
Yeah. Well,
we did not out this man.
Right. I mean, because why? I mean, you know,
Because why?
I mean, there would be a story in it because he's been viciously homophobic for the entire 10 years that I've been tracking him, you know.
But he was so irrelevant and his life had gotten so sad. And I just like, you know, looking at this very young man, I mean, an adult, he's an adult, but it was a very young man. And just like thinking about the situation that these men were in, it just felt sad to me. And I was like, I'm not going to be the one that outs this man. Like, sure, he used to gleefully say he was going to rape the gay out of me, which takes on a new dimension now that I know what I know.
Right.
But like, I didn't feel any value in outing this man. But last week, he did it to himself.
He did it to himself.
His own personal 9/11.
Well, and he also published a little, like, I first found this as like an audio clip.
Oh yeah.
So it's I guess we can give the name of the character. He put it out there, right? So
right, he posted it because again, we have had the audiobook of his gay erotica for months, and neither of us did anything with it because we are honorable people.
Yes, exactly. Do you know the Cantwell News episode I could have made just playing clips of that?
Oh my God.
You know?
Because so when he had his little gay meltdown last week, he posted a PDF of this. I believe it is called Saving Myself for Marriage, Kinda.
Yeah, I love
by
that.
Rick Greiner.
Yes.
Which is very interesting because his best friend in jail, Victor Boot, was very famously exchanged with Vladimir Putin in a prisoner exchange for Brittany Griner.
Oh, interesting.
That's the first thing I thought of when I saw it. But so he posted the PDF of this gay erotica last week, but we have had the audio book of him reading it in his own voice.
Yes.
And when I tell you, did you listen to the whole thing?
I've listened to it a couple of times. Yeah.
It is.
I didn't listen to it in preparation for this podcast.
It is repulsive because he has a Long Island accent. I think that's a big part of the problem.
Well, the thing is, I think there is no person other than Chris Cantwell who has listened to more Chris Cantwell speak than I have at this point. I mean, maybe some of it's like hardcore fans, but I think even the hardcore fans have not probably gone as far back as I have.
I was reading some of these posts aloud to my partner, and he was like, "Do you realize that you, even when you're not doing an impression of it, you're not doing the accent, you're not doing an impression, but you're reading it in his cadence.
Yes, yes, yes. It's unmistakable. My immediate thought when I heard it was like, is this AI? Like it was like it did like, but it's not. It's
It's
clearly,
not.
I
It's
mean,
him. It's him.
it's so specific to his cadence. It is
And the
very much
interesting thing
like
is, I've heard him talk about fucking women, and
yes.
it's like in 40-Year-Old Virgin when he says a breast feels like a bag of sand, right? But when he talks about fucking men, it's like, oh, you sucked that cock.
Yeah, no,
I'm so sorry.
I mean, God, no, I mean,
I've just never heard him say things like globs of cum. It was
oh,
not. I
I've
didn't
heard
like
him.
it. I
I
didn't
don't know,
like
no,
it.
but usually it's in sorry, on his Telegram, he's asking for this. Does anybody have access to the audio of the booty judge segment that I did back when Pete Buttigieg was like something in
And
Democratic
the funny thing is,
politics?
you probably do.
Oh, I have. Yeah, I absolutely have it. Yeah, I almost reached out to him like, here, dude, you want it? You have it. You know.
God, when he was really hard up for money earlier this year, and he said he was selling his personal notebooks to try and like get money to pay his rent, I was like,
Right.
damn, like the only person who wants those is me.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, you and I, you and
do
I
you
would,
think he
you
would
and I
let
would.
me? Do you think he would let me buy them?
I I think you could get them for a song so long as you didn't tell them it was you.
Like, I'll give you $100.
Yeah, no, something like that. God, man, yeah,
But
no,
yeah, so I guess to get back to the chronology, January 2020, he gets arrested on federal charges for threatening to rape Cheddar Main's wife, right? September 2020, he's convicted. He gets sentenced a few months later. He gets out at the end of 2022. And I think he has 2 years of supervision. So
right.
he's on supervision until the end of last year. So I think November, December last year, he gets off of supervision. So he's not on probation anymore. He's a free man. So the end of 2024,
Okay.
he can do whatever he wants. And then he immediately gets rearrested for strangling this young man
Yes.
in New Hampshire. And that's when he starts to go completely bugfuck nuts.
Right.
I think within about 6 weeks of that arrest, 2 months maybe. So like 2 months after he gets arrested for strangulation, he starts, and again, at this point, nobody's looking at him anymore. He doesn't podcast anymore. So like even his own former fans, like nobody's paying attention to him anymore. And he starts posting in the middle of the night, every night, all night, these insane, long walls of text about how he's being gang stalked.
I could not read all of that. I have a strong summit for TLDR. That was TLDR for me. I
But
was
like just pages and pages of text
Yes.
about this elaborate conspiracy about how he's being followed. And so because he's out on bond for these assault charges, he's not supposed to leave the state of New Hampshire, but he believes he's fleeing gang stalkers. So he's driving all over New England. Like one night in the middle of the night, he posts these videos where he's like, I'm in my car, I'm in Connecticut. It's like, what are you doing in fucking Connecticut? And then a few weeks later, he gets arrested in Massachusetts. He didn't. So he gets into a car, and I remember the day that it happened because at this point, I'm keeping tabs because I'm concerned. I'm like,
right.
this is so sad that, like, again, this is a man who has threatened to kill me, who has physically harmed people that are close to me. And I'm watching this happen thinking, like, should I call his mom?
Yeah.
Like like he's posting from the side of the road in Connecticut about how he's being followed by these I'm being followed by these criminals, and I'm like, does anyone care about you? Can someone come get you?
I mean, I remember you and I discussing this a bit in chat, and it was like, I mean, I think there was a suggestion of like, is there a way to like tip off the cops that this is happening? Because he's clearly,
And like,
doing
not because I want him to get in trouble, or
Right,
like,
but-
but it's like I need someone to go get him because I'm worried.
Well, this. Sorry, more philosophically, but this is the thing that like we believe that certainly I think you would agree with this, that crime is not it's not you're a terrible person, therefore you commit crimes. And often it is this. It's coming from this. You're in this place through you have no other option, and there's
But it's
just
like, no matter
um,
how much you have harmed me personally and my community and people that I care about and the world, and how much hate you have put out into the world, like at some point this is just like a homeless
yes.
guy experiencing meth psychosis in public, and it's like, can someone help him?
And at this point, he's living out of his car. I think is kind
He's
of where
living out of his car. He doesn't have any money. That's why he's trying to sell his papers. And then, he believes that he's fleeing these gang stalkers. And so the thing about gang stalking is like, anyone who looks at you in public is now part of the conspiracy. And so I was starting to get genuinely worried, not just for his safety, but like, is he, because I know he has committed violence in the past, is he going to lash out violently against a stranger at a Walmart?
Yeah, because somebody glanced at him because he looked probably pretty cruddy and he was carrying a blade or whatever he's allowed to carry, or
Right, so
whatever he happens to carry. And yeah, like,
by his own recounting of the incidents of the day of the accident, this woman got off the highway. She was not following him. She was in front of him on the highway, and she got off on the exit that he was planning to get off on. And so he thought, oh, she knew I was going to do that. She's following me from the front. So he followed her down into a residential neighborhood off the highway in Auburn, Massachusetts. And they end up like, she pulls over so that he can go around her, and then he brake checks her and she rear ends him. Right. So she did hit his car, and then he gets out and he's filming her and screaming at her, and the cops show up and he doesn't have car insurance. And so like, it was a pretty minor accident and it could have just kind of ended there. But because he didn't have car insurance, they had to tow the car. And because they had to tow the car, they had to inventory the car. And as they're inventorying the car, they find a shit ton of meth.
Not, what was it? It was meth. It was coke. It was fentanyl. It was, I mean,
I don't know about fent, but like it was a bunch of illegally purchased, allegedly online purchased, like tons of boner pills. So it was meth and a variety of other illegal drugs and boner pills.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can use your imagination about what he's doing with 200 Viagra and enough meth that he got charged with intent to distribute.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I mean, I understand that like these quantities are like set specifically to entrap people and etc. But like, that does seem like it's a lot of meth for a man living in his car to have.
I don't know how much 30 grams of meth is, but it sounds like a lot of meth.
Yeah, I mean, I know what 30 grams is. You know, I studied chemistry. I'm going
to Google how much is a lot of meth.
Sure.
How much does meth cost? I don't know. I don't know how to Google how much is too much meth to have.
Yeah, well, it seems like 30 grams. It does feel like a lot of meth. You know.
How much is a dose of meth? I don't know. I've never even actually seen meth. So, an average dose of meth is 0.2 grams. So that's 5 times 30, 150 doses of meth.
150 doses. That'll get you through.
I mean, that's a significant amount of meth.
That'll get you through a good weekend. Sure. Oh, God. So, I'm kidding. I'm
naive, but
yeah.
So he's arrested in Massachusetts. He still has pending charges in New Hampshire, and so he's sitting in jail for a while in Massachusetts. And he finally gets them to let him out on bond on the condition that he's only allowed to go to an inpatient rehabilitation program. So that's where he is now, is an inpatient rehab program in New Hampshire, and he is still posting, which brings us to last week. This is where we've been trying to get. So a week ago on 9/11.
I honestly thought you and I were going to do an episode about the drug stuff at some point, and like the paranoid delusions, and then this puts that we are no longer even considering that as like part of this. I mean, it's obviously a part of the story, but
he's
like,
definitely having meth psychosis.
Yes.
In my layman's opinion of watching this man post for the last 8 years, this is meth psychosis.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, because we can say for sure he was definitely using meth, right? That was speculation before, and I think it's certain now. But 1 week ago, on September 11th, 2025, on 9/11.
On 9/11, yes.
He posted this long wall of text saying, like, you know, I have to get this off my chest. I've been having mountains of gay sex forever.
Starting from when he was 14 to 16.
Since
I think
he was
doesn't
a
even
teenager.
know. Since he was a teenager, he was having like consensual sex with men. Yes.
So it's not just like after prison I was into. No, it's forever. It was forever.
Yeah, yeah.
He was always doing this.
You know, the entire everything we've ever known about Christopher Cantwell, it coincides with this behavior. Yes.
And it's like, it's so lazy to say like, oh, you know, homophobes are always. That's not true. That's not true. There are plenty of homophobes who just hate gay people.
Yeah, yeah.
But for Chris, it always had that tenor, right?
Yeah, I mean,
we've been joking for years that he was probably a chaser,
right?
And it turns out we were right.
Well, I always, and I never really expressed this like in public, just because, you know, I try not to speculate, you know, and I don't think anybody, we're obviously not saying it's a bad thing that Chris Cantwell is gay or might be gay or has gay sex or that. We are, you know.
No, it's just I'm just
saying it out loud. Right, like, I'm just saying it out loud. All right, you
can be as gay as you want. I'm so happy for him.
Yeah, and even like tawdry, meth fueled, like, you know, if that's your thing, and as long as everybody's consenting about it, look,
But it is
legally, I'm
the
not going to tell you that,
opposite. Is the
but it's
opposite
the
of what
opposite.
he has said. You know what I mean? Like he a year ago would say that someone who did these things should be put to death.
God, I think he's kind of still saying that, and
Yeah,
like,
he is
we'll
still
get there. We'll
because he's
get
still
there.
saying
We'll
that
get
he's
there.
not gay. That it's not gay what he's doing.
I actually find I have an interpretation here, but I want to kind of get because I want to go back briefly to the audiobook, to the PDF, to the short story, right, to the erotica.
Oh yeah.
It's I one thing I don't do on this podcast is talk about my sex life. It's just it's not relevant. I will say I've been reading erotica for as long as the internet has existed. I was
Okay.
like 15 when I
Okay, so
first
what's your
started.
expert opinion on if this is because that's I don't read erotica, so I don't know if
Okay,
this is a normal tone.
now
It felt weird.
I don't read a lot of like explicitly gay erotica. I've read. I mean, look,
Yeah, I mean it's out there, sure.
I
No
mean,
judgment.
I like sex. I'm interested in sex. Sex is like a nerd thing for me sometimes. It's just like all the different ways people put their uglies together. I like learning about
But
these things.
this did not feel loving to me.
Oh well, loving is not the question. It does not feel loving. It did. So one thing that you get when you read like amateur erotica, particularly like a lot of it is like teenagers, sitting there on like, and they're just right. Like there's a tab A and slot B problem where like if you actually start to like diagram, okay, I was doing this and then I did this and then I put my hand here and then it's like it sounds like you kind of have four hands. You know what I mean? And none of those problems exist in this. This felt it felt authentic.
Well,
You
he
know,
wrote it as a love letter to the man being described.
he wrote it as like an experience of I'm a straight man. I never thought I would want to suck a man's dick,
Right, but
and now I
it's
did.
not like it's not an imaginary scenario. He's
Right, right,
describing his actual first experience sucking a dick, and he
right.
wrote it for the man
Well,
in the story.
and as we later learned, I took it as a work of fiction. I took it as like at the time, I
Right,
took
we
it as
didn't know at the time.
we didn't know at the time. I took it as well. You've been talking to these guys on Grinder. Maybe it's your way of trying to get in with them, or maybe like make money off of them, or like just he tried his hands at a ton of. Remember, oh,
Oh yeah, edgy goodies.
edgy goodies, edgygoodies.com. Oh my God, he was just selling like little weather radios and shit just to make money. It's
Like drop
well, it's worse.
shipped.
You can get it from Walmart cheaper, but if you do it for me, you pay me, and it's like, well,
Why would I do that?
yeah, exactly. God, how many times did you read that freaking ad read? How many times did I listen to that? Like hundreds, hundreds. Um, anyway, so I took it as like this is a work of fiction. This is like it's very well described.
It
And I
felt
mean,
realistic.
it felt very realistic. Is it good erotica? I mean, again, I've read a lot worse. I've read a lot better. I would not put this, but
I think the problem, I think the real stylistic issue with it is he's trying to describe an experience that he enjoyed, but you
Right.
can feel his own disgust with himself. So it's
Yeah.
like you can't really erotica should not be full of self-loathing.
I've
That's not
read
hot.
enough. I mean, there is a fetish for that.
He's
There is a fetish for that.
describing gay sex in a way he's like, yeah, I was doing this thing and I really liked it, but he obviously still finds it disgusting.
Right, right. I mean, I think
And I
I'm
find what
deeper
he's
in-
saying disgusting for a different reason.
Right. Well, I mean, what he's saying is disgusting for a lot of reasons, but but again, I took it as kind of like maybe he did this, maybe it's a work of fiction, maybe but I took it and then like
He
now
has
it's
since
like,
he has since
oh no,
post audio of it happening, so we know it happened. Unfortunately,
so as I said with the Charlie Kirk video, do not go look for this. This
Don't
is
find-
not
don't
you
find
don't,
this.
you don't you do,
don't do this.
Molly, so everyone listening to the sound of my voice knows I have listened to ungodly hours of content that the mild stuff that I listen to, most people would find completely objectionable to even know it exists. This was the dirtiest I've ever felt listening to audio in the production of.
I didn't listen. I didn't
podcast.
listen. I couldn't do it because
I
don't think it was
don't-
recorded consensually.
okay. Do you think? And we may cut some of this. All right. Do you think that the gentleman, that the other person, was the person he was in the like short-term affair with, or do you think this is a rando?
I didn't listen because I can't. I don't know that it was recorded consensually, and I don't want to be involved in that.
I 100% agree with that. For me, again, I'm not sharing it. We're not putting any of this. I'm not telling you how to find it. You do not want to find this. It is. I believe it is entirely possible that it is completely unethically sourced. I think there is a possibility that this was someone that he had that. The audio quality is too good for it not to be like
A
there had to
visible
be
microphone?
There had to be a microphone in the room. Like
Because
this
again,
isn't like
I guess like if you're smoking both crack and meth, which he has admitted to doing simultaneously during some of these encounters, yeah, maybe that guy agreed to something crazy, you know?
He offered poppers at one point. Like they do poppers on the audio track.
I mean, that's just good fun, but like,
yeah. Sure.
I don't know. Is consent meaningful if you're on crack? I don't know the answer to these questions.
It felt dirty. It felt dirty, and not because of the the degree to which they were having sex, or like it seemed mutually enjoyable for both of them. At least I'll give it that. But no, it is really one of those things of like this felt like deliberately non-consensual, even if there was kind of some meaningful consent. And certainly, I don't think. And the same thing I said with the gentleman on the other episode. If even if he consented to the recording, he didn't.
Did he know how it was going to be used? Did he know exactly? Did he know it was going to be shared in a Nazi chat room so that Nazis could hear him doing this?
Yes, exactly. And that's the part where I felt like even more deeply uncomfortable. So I have listened once. I will never listen again. Again, I get the ethical issues. I thought it was important to hear for myself, just as someone studying this stuff.
You're a completionist. For better or worse. Mostly worse.
I sit through all the credits of the Lord of the Rings movies, and I listen to a possible sex. Oh, God, that's terrible. Oh, God. Okay, anyway. So we're not going to talk about the contents here, but it's deeply uncomfortable. But it is very authentically real. And he has continually come back. And I stopped checking the chat, He has come back over and over again, like, talking in more and more detail about just how many dudes he's fucked.
Hundreds.
I mean, yeah.
He said sometimes several per day. Like he is.
Yes.
And he's talking, and again, if you're someone who enjoys a casual hookup on illegal substances, that's great for you. I'm so happy for you. I hope you're being safe. I hope you're on prep, and I hope everything you're doing is consensual and safe. Good for you. Have a good time. But he's talking about fucking multiple strangers per day while high on meth for days at a time. And that's not good for you.
No, it's yeah.
I mean, he's looking rough.
I haven't seen a photo of him in a while, so
he's posted some video messages. He's not looking good. I mean, when he first started posting these videos, earlier this year, I thought, well, that's just what he looks like when he doesn't have access to, steroids, testosterone, because he was getting drug tested on probation. So I thought, well, he can't use steroids, right? That's just what he looks like, not on steroids. And it turns out that's what he looks like strung out on meth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but the reason he chose to come out was not because he's embracing his new identity and living authentically.
Oh, certainly not. Certainly
not. It's because he believes that it is important as part of this gang stalking narrative, right?
Yeah. Like he's there, like his enemies are going to release this at some point in the future to make him look bad.
Which is fascinating because his, what he believes to be his enemies, people like you and me and Emily and Goat and the FBI. So, we have known about this all year. And I was thinking about this. The FBI has probably known all along.
Oh, yeah, probably.
They had pole cameras outside of his house. If men are coming over to suck his dick, the FBI saw them.
Yeah.
I mean, the FBI had search warrants for his home, his car, his phone, his email years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the FBI did know all along, didn't they? And again, like nobody outed him. The FBI didn't, you didn't, I didn't.
Yeah.
The journalist that wrote the article about him strangling that young man was careful not to explicitly out him, even though he could have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, he's talking about this, inevitability. He's going to be blackmailed, that his enemies are going to do this to him, but like nobody did.
Well, like you understand, you and I don't think that having like anonymous gay sex for days at a time is necessarily a character flaw. Like the fact if Cantwell is gay, I mean, I think of it as like interesting from a like perspective of like
hypocrisy,
and like violent homophobia.
To be fair to this psychotic Nazi, if he were still in a place where he was actively harming me and people I care about, I might have. Okay. I might have disclosed this information in a journalistically ethical manner. You know what I mean? Absolutely. It might have been a story that I felt inclined to disclose. If we were still, locked in this battle of the wills where he was threatening to kill me. I don't know. Whatever. I'll admit that. But at this stage of his life, like I feel like everybody watching him still is like, but this is just a sad man.
Yeah, well,
And in
and I
classic Cantwell fashion, right? He's like, my enemies are going to hurt me, so I'm just going to go ahead and shoot myself in the dick. He did this to
yeah,
himself.
almost literally.
He
It's
did it
like
to himself.
right. I mean, he thinks like my enemies, and I guess maybe he thinks his enemies are like the ex-Patrol, like the guys to the right of him, like the accelerationist types,
It's
as
everyone.
opposed to
It's
yeah.
everyone.
Well, I mean, it's the nebulous they, as we kind of
And the
say
Bow
on this
Patrol
podcast.
hasn't
And
existed. They don't
well, but
exist.
it's not the Bow Patrol as you and
Right.
I understand it to exist. It's this thing in Cantwell's head is like it can't be you're just paranoid and strung out on drugs. It has to
He keeps
be
emphasizing that's not what this is. I know you think that's what this is, but that's not what this is. It's not because of the meth. I'm not even on meth anymore. And it's like, oh, Chris,
no.
I'm so sorry, but like sometimes it's permanent.
The thing is that like I'm pretty sure he's known that I existed for a long time. But I don't believe he has ever actually maybe once, I think once he said my name on the podcast. Like as to not draw attention to the podcast, I think was sort of like part of the thing there.
Right. You don't want to draw attention to your enemy.
I remember at one point, and I'm gonna reveal, something about myself. He was kept he was referring to whenever he would like say Emily's name, Emily Gorchinsky's name on the podcast, like he's not allowed to say her name to the
Right.
terms of his release.
It was illegal for him to say.
It was illegal for him to say and to say on the podcast, etc. For very good reasons. Stifling his free speech, obviously.
Sure.
And well, whenever he did, I would just message you and Emily and go like, "Hey, just letting you know." And then he would get dinged for it by the legal system. He'd get a a
Like,
message
how is
or
this
whatever.
happening?
He's like, "How's it?" And then he said like, "Emily's listening." It's like it's
No,
not
she
Emily, buddy.
really
It's not
isn't.
Emily.
She really was
isn't.
not.
Emily has better things to do. Not all of us have better things to do. Yes, Cantwell, if you listen to this, I was the one the whole time. It was always me. Nobody else listens to your bullshit. Anyway,
Chris.
I have
But again, he's got this idea in his head. I think even before the meth psychosis, right? Like
Yeah.
all from the beginning, for at least 8 years ago, as long as I've known of his existence, he has had this belief that he is the victim of this gigantic, nebulous conspiracy, right? That everything that's wrong in his life is someone else's fault, and they're targeting him because he's special. So even when he's not psychotic, he believes that he is being targeted because of how special he is.
Right.
So
well, he
once
believes he's like he's
go ahead.
uniquely talented. He's like it's uniquely
He's God's gift.
brilliant figure. He's God's gift to mankind, and he's going to personally save the white race by talking into a microphone and telling racist jokes. Like that's
So
his.
it makes perfect sense in that context that like once he finally cracked all the way up, this was the delusion he had, right? That he is the center of this crazy, gigantic, worldwide conspiracy by the Jews and Antifa and also the Nazis, right? The Nazis that are worse than him. So it's the government, it's the Jews, it's Israel, it's Weave, it's like it's everybody.
I love that because Weave is Jewish or like ethnically Jewish. I don't even know how Jewish Weave is, but like he believes Weave is a Jew. God, should we say who Weave is? Andrew
Auernheimer, yeah.
He was like the tech support for the alt-right back in the heyday of the alt-right.
But like he thinks Andrew Anglin is involved and also Mossad and the CEO of Grindr.
I mean, since when has Anglin even been relevant? I mean,
Nobody has seen Anglin in 8 years.
Yeah,
like he doesn't exist anymore.
I think he's still hiding in his parents' basement or something. I think he just hasn't been outside in 8
Like
years.
there's a strong contingent of belief that he's somewhere in Southeast Asia. I think he's in Ohio. I don't think he ever fucking left Ohio.
Yeah. Why would you leave Ohio?
I'm sorry. If you've been trapped in a basement in Ohio for 8 years to avoid service of judgment in a civil lawsuit, like you're not powerful enough to run an international conspiracy.
No, not at all. Not at all.
You're not tormenting Christopher Cantwell, hand in hand with the CEO of Grindr. That's not happening.
Yeah. It's the vast conspiracy of the Grindr CEO, Andrew Anglin, and Antifa, and all caps with
Mossad.
periods between it, and Mossad, yes, or just it's the arm meme with all four arms, and those are the.
We're all doing it to him.
Yeah, and it's all about stopping Chris Cantwell because otherwise he would be too powerful to stop. It takes all of that might, yeah.
And it's like at this point in his career, why does he think anyone's trying to stop him? Stop him from what?
Well,
he hasn't. He's not real.
I wanted to. I did want to like mention this a little bit. Is that when he went to jail for that for that threat that he did. He was in for what, a year and some change, and then he had a couple of years. There was
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, so he was arrested
Yeah,
in January 2020. He got out in December 22, but some of that was pretrial detention. So yeah, I mean, all told, he was in for almost 2 years.
right.
Yeah.
There was a sense that he's serving time for the cause that you and I know differently, but like on the far right, there was this sense that, well, these are trumped up charges. He just, this is just
Because
on,
they wanted to silence him after
so it's just,
Charlottesville.
or they just have it out for the guy. He's just because, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's
And that-
doing time for the cause,
And
and
that might
therefore,
have worked in 2019.
right. But he's doing time for the cause, and so therefore, they don't like him anymore. They didn't like him even then. But
And I
there was
think especially because, like, if he had gone to prison for threatening me,
right.
I think that would have been way better for his reputation.
Oh,
But
yes.
he went to prison for threatening another Nazi. And
That's
so as a
true.
result of this investigation and the trial, Nazis got outed. People further to the right of Cantwell had to get on the stand because they got federal subpoenas. It ended
Right.
Paul Nealon. It ended the Bull Patrol, right?
Yeah,
Because they were all outed. They all had to talk to the fucking FBI. So it's hard to go down as like, oh, I'm a martyr for the Nazi cause when like you ruined the career of a couple of Nazis.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess what I was gonna say is there was a sense in like, say, like Matthew Q. Gerbert, Full House. I'm doing an episode on him.
He's got new lawsuits cooking. Don't worry.
Oh,
He's still
can't wait.
working on it. He's still
Well,
cranking them out.
If you want to come back and talk
Yeah.
about the lawsuits, then I'd love to chat
I've been
with him,
keeping
but-
track. I get the updates.
No, I just listen to the podcast. So, you and I, again, we need to join forces more often.
Because I don't listen to that shit.
No, I listen to the shit. I find it fascinating. But the Daily Show, kind of had this like soft policy of we just don't criticize Chris Camp. They criticize everybody, but
Yeah.
like, he's doing time for the cause. Like, let's, don't kick him while he's down, et cetera. Gerbert, like at the end of like the most recent Full House, it's like, yeah, we got a little housekeeping to do at the end, and I was kind of so. Says, and I promise you this audio exists. I'm going to share it with you. I wish I clipped it just so I could share it with Molly right now. It's astonishing. It's like, yeah, Cantwell sent me this PDF of the book that he wrote, the little short story he wrote
He sent it directly to him privately?
months ago.
Months?
Months ago. And he said, I think this is the greatest thing I ever wrote.
Why did he do that?
Chris knows this is true. About 6 months ago, he messaged me and said, "Hey, I wrote this thing. You should read it. I think it's one of the best things I've ever written." And it was, it was that thing that he wrote. And I started reading it, and I was like, "Is this oh yes, this is going in a sort of gay erotica way." And I stopped, and I just wrote back and said, "Look, I have a personal policy of not consuming gay propaganda or gay pornography." And I just said, I'm not going to read it, and I don't think you should publish it.
And again, so if people were going to punish him by outing him, why didn't Matthew Gebert do that?
Exactly.
Everyone was looking at this man thinking like it's not even fun to fucking kick this man.
Yeah, there's no like it's like a sick dog. You
Because
put it
the
down,
guys-
but you're not gonna kick
The guys
him.
at Full House absolutely should have outed him. That's very much within their wheelhouse. That's their MO. And they didn't because it was too sad.
Yeah. I mean, and they do a lot of infighting. They try not
They
to.
love
but
infighting.
They
No,
do a
they
ton
love
of
infighting.
yeah.
They love everybody loves infighting. Oh my God.
I love it when they infight. That's always fun.
He sent it to Gebert personally.
He sent it to Gebert personally.
Why
yeah.
did he do that? Because did he think that he would find it impressive?
I can only imagine that. Like Cantwell sees him. It's kind of like it's like Ben Shapiro or Matt Walsh or kind of those figures who like really wanted to get into Hollywood. Who
Right.
Really wanted to like.
And Chris always. I mean, he had that stand-up comedy attempt.
He did stand up
wanted
comedy
that.
for a little while. He like they.
But
and
Gebert
he's-
of all people, right? Like Gebert's podcast is about like the joys and the value of white fatherhood and traditional white living. Like, did you think this man was going to like
I
your
think-
gay erotica?
I think I just want to call him Q, Matthew. There was a thing when his name was revealed. Like there was a segment that was like, oh, it's the original QAnon guy. It's like, guys, you don't know what you're talking. It's fine. It's fine.
It's the Q is for like Quentin or something.
Yeah, I know. It's like Matthew Q. Gerbert. There's a thing where I think he was like maybe the one guy who was like had any degree of respectability, who's had any like contact with Cantwell at that point, who had anything nice to say to him. And I suspect that may be like he just thought like this is like a great thing that I've done. I just want you to read it. And Gerbert's discussed. I mean, he's discussed it not for the reasons that you and I are, but because it's gay content and get that the fuck out of my
Right,
sight.
he's very much opposed to that.
Yes, exactly.
Very publicly.
Yeah, very publicly. I mean,
Like his whole thing is like gay people shouldn't exist.
yeah. I mean, that's
one of his top 10 things.
no. I mean, it's kind of in the top 5. I think, really, honestly, I think race mixing would be higher than that. But,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
All right, so I don't know. Where do we think this goes from here?
So right now he has pending charges in New Hampshire that I can't actually find the fucking docket. New Hampshire has I don't know. New Hampshire doesn't have a greatly digitized docket system. So I don't know, but he says the trial is in March. So maybe that's true. Maybe he's going on trial in March for those assault charges in New Hampshire. He's currently out on bond on those charges and on the charges in Massachusetts. It's like 10 different felony drug charges. The misdemeanor assault in New Hampshire is probably less of a concern than I think, upwards of a decade he could get for some of those charges in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
He's convinced he can beat it all, but he is really hampered in his ability to fight the charges because he's stuck in rehab and he believes that one of the other men in the rehab facility is part of the gang stalking conspiracy, which, like, imagine group therapy sessions. Imagine you're just some fucking guy. You're just a random guy trying to go to rehab in New Hampshire. And during group therapy, some weird bald Nazi is screaming at you that you're gang stalking him. Like, that guy's just trying to get well. Some guy stuck in this rehab facility getting screamed at by Cantwell, who believes he's Mossad.
I mean, I just imagine how much, despite that, people in 2017, people thought he had talent. People thought he would, I know, but
Bless.
People thought he had talent, and they really kind of liked his content. And then, even though they thought he had talent, his personality defects were so large that he alienated literally everybody. And then even when he got new, even nastier friends, he alienated all of them as well. I can only imagine that as a meth addict, it's only that, but more so.
Probably not improving the abrasiveness of his interpersonal skills.
I'm just imagining, like, and no disrespect to anyone who has been addicted to any substance. We have great respect for people.
It doesn't improve your personality.
But I can imagine, like, meth addicts kind of scurrying away from Chris Cantwell, even if he had the product.
Right, like he's talking about smoking crack at the orgy, and it's like, dog, you ruined the vibe at that hotel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, everyone else smoking crack was just vibing. You wrecked it.
Absolutely. I love the fact that he has so much Viagra on him. That he's got like hundreds of doses of Viagra. Because one of the things he was bragging about in that terrible audio clip is like how long he could fuck.
Well, isn't that part of the appeal of having sex on meth?
I don't know. I've never had sex on meth, so
I mean, neither have I. But I've from what I have heard, you can have sex for a very long time on meth. I don't know.
That's maybe it.
I'm innocent. Don't contact me about this.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, I know more about Chris Cantwell's dick than I ever really wanted to.
Dog.
I tried to get a quote about Cantwell's dick in the New York Times once, and the editorial board nixed that immediately. It was a really great line. I even sent the guy audio of him bragging about his porn habits.
It's fucked up how much I know about this man, mostly against my will.
Yes, very much so.
Like, I'm just trying to make sure he's not hurting people, and now I know what he does on crack.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna end. I mean, I think we're wrapping up here, and I just wanted to end with to me, sounds like it's less like I want to have sex with men, but that men are available to me very easily, whereas women are not.
That's what he's saying.
And like the way he describes it, and like in the past, the way he's described his like need to just come, his need to just get it out there, and like he just has to ejaculate so many times a day. It does start to feel more like sex addiction than like anything else to me.
Yeah,
but
most people would just masturbate or hire a sex worker. I feel like once you've had sex with over 100 men since you last saw a woman naked, that's not just because you need to bust. I mean, I'm not an expert on what guys are doing, but
we're not diagnosing from afar.
But I think
I just wanted to raise it as a possibility.
He's been
that
posting nonstop for a week about how much he loves fucking men.
Yeah.
But he's always like, but like not in a gay way, but like not in a gay way though. And it's like, I don't know. I read your erotica and it sounded in a gay way to me.
Yeah, it sounded pretty gay. Yeah, it
But like,
sounded,
and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But it
No,
sounds
no.
like you think there's something wrong with that. And that's,
I mean, if he has been gay since he was a teenager, imagine if he could have accepted that about himself.
because
Maybe
he's what?
he might have been a better person.
He's
my age.
45 years old.
He's
born in
44.
19
He'll turn 45 later this. He turns 45
in
in
November.
I think.
God, okay, that's healthy for both of us to know.
Well, I'm 45. He's my age, so it's easy
But
for me
if
to.
he's been having gay sex for 30 years,
Yes.
he's had sex with, I would say, 100 times more men than women.
Yeah, probably. Given God, how many women do? I mean, that's probably like single digits. I think at this point, right?
It's single digits, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I think part of his turn to madness was that woman allegedly, like one of his villain origin stories. Obviously, I can't verify that this is true, but his villain origin story is that woman aborted his child. Right? A Puerto Rican woman aborted his baby. Thank God she did. I mean, if that even happened, right? But like, yeah, and there's that one woman who lives in Maryland who keeps getting committed to a state hospital that I know he had an on again, off again thing for a long time.
Yeah.
There's the woman that he was dating in 2019 when he got into trouble with the Bowl Boys. But I mean, like single digit number of women.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just I mean, if he's having this much, no, God, it just.
I'm sorry, if you're getting your dick sucked by 4 men a day, it's because you like getting your dick sucked by men.
Yes, indeed.
I don't think that's controversial to say.
No.
I mean, he's fucking at this point. This is a Nikki Crane situation. This is a Nikki Crane situation. Nazi by day, cruiser by night. We've seen it before. It's not unusual.
Yeah.
But no. So as far as what's next for him, I was just pulling up the docket for his case in Massachusetts. It looks like yesterday he tried. So he's been saying, because he believes the gang stalker is in the facility with him, that he wants to leave. He can't leave because he's there on court orders. So it looks like yesterday he had his attorney file a motion to amend his bond conditions, and the judge said no. So he is still in that rehab facility, and the judge says he has to stay there or come back to jail. And that's kind of where things are for him now.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess to be continued if things continue down this path. I mean, at this point, it's almost like, oh, man, it's like every time he hits a new low, I just think, well, now there's just no much. Like, I just thought he's gonna get sentenced to something, and he's just gonna be in jail, and that'll just be the end of it. Like it's just he'll come out in 20 years, and he'll just be an old man with a cane who was a lifer or something.
I mean, it's sad to say. Like, obviously, I'm not a big supporter of the carceral state, but like, think about his options at this point. I think going to jail for a few years is the best thing that could happen to him.
Yeah.
Because if he beats these charges, he's just a homeless meth addict, right? Like he can't get a job. He can't go back to being a famous Nazi because nobody cares about him anymore. Like,
I mean, and I mean, like, I'm just wondering, like, one of the things, I mean, again, just like the social safety net kind of questions about this. Like,
right, I mean, it's a sad indictment on society, right? That like the best thing that he can do is go to jail.
Well, sometimes, I mean, again, sometimes that's the case. I'm just like, he's not an unintelligent. I mean, he's very stupid in the ways that, but he's not incapable. Like, he can't wash dishes at a Pizza Hut or something. Like, I mean, it just seems
I guess
like
the problem is he doesn't think he should have to.
Right. Well, I don't think,
If 2 years ago, when he got out of prison, right, he's been sober for a while because he was locked up. If at that point he was like, all right, I'm going to get a job washing dishes, he could have just been a guy. He could have just gone back to being a person in the world, but he refused. He wanted to be a famous Nazi, and he's never going to get that, especially not now.
No, I mean, I think at this point that ship has sailed. Like,
But again, he's always just blowing his own life up.
Yeah.
It's sad to watch. It's sad. I mean, I know we're laughing, we're having a good time. It's funny to watch your enemies fall, but like he's fallen so far that it's not even fun anymore. I'm sad for him.
Yeah, and I mean the day to day is. I mean, we're laughing. We laugh on the. I mean, we say this all the time. We laugh at this podcast because we laugh so we don't cry. Because it's difficult stuff, and it's just uncomfortable to talk about this stuff. But like watching this day by day, it's like it's, it's sad, it's depressing. It's just like,
And it's a very weird emotional place to realize, like, like I was saying, when I was watching him like really start to lose it earlier this year, and like nobody's paying attention to this man anymore. He's not famous. He's not important. He's not podcasting. Even people like you are like, you don't care about this guy anymore. To feel like I'm the only one watching this man fall apart. And it's like, I feel sad for you.
Yeah.
You have hurt me so badly, like on a personal, like one-to-one, you
Absolutely.
and me in the arena. Like you have tried to hurt me so badly, and I feel nothing but pity for you. It's so strange.
Yeah. Well, it speaks to the like fundamental patheticness at the heart of Chris of who Cantwell kind of always has been ultimately. And I
But
think
like
the thing that
there was a moment where I was like, I might be the only person in the world who is concerned that you will die tonight. And
Yeah.
that's so sad for you.
I think if you had reported that to me, like if he had died that night and you had come to me and you had said, I I can't tell you how I would have felt. I think
I mean, because there were times where I think in the last couple of months, you and I have discussed, like, do I have an ethical obligation to help him? Because I think I'm the only person watching him hurt himself like this.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And
And I
there's
don't
not,
know the answer to that.
yeah, I don't think anybody I don't think anybody listening to this podcast would hold it against you to not like reach out with social support to help.
I mean, I didn't.
To help Chris
I'll be
Cantwell.
honest, I didn't.
Yeah, no, I didn't. We both of us could have done something, and I didn't do anything. I mean, if you had told me like, oh, you found an obituary or something, I would have been, well, it was always going to end this
think
way.
That may be what's next for him. Like if he gets out of this facility, he's going to hurt himself or someone else, and I know that.
Well,
That's just what it is.
Obviously, we don't want him to hurt himself, but I would much prefer that than him hurting someone else. Because if he does,
Yeah.
if he does that, that's probably going to be. I mean,
Bad.
that's going to be real bad. Yeah.
I mean, thank God he doesn't have access to a firearm.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's sad.
I will not speculate as to possibilities, but you're right. It is
he
very
doesn't.
sad.
He doesn't have the money to buy an illegal gun, and he can't buy one legally. So
Right, yeah,
thank
yeah.
God. But I don't know. It's a sad story. Hopefully he will get the help that he needs in his court-mandated rehab facility, and he will come around and come through the psychosis and realize he's not being gang stalked by the CEO of Grindr. And I don't know. I will probably continue to have a vague idea of what state he is in for the rest of one or both of our lives, just in case.
Yes.
But
Yeah. No. Well, and you'll keep me posted,
yeah.
and maybe you'll come back and we'll discuss him one last time. But I think it sounds like we're nearing the end of like Cantwell news as being a thing that anybody cares about. Like I think people glommed onto this segment. People really like it because it was
Because he's
entertaining.
bombastic.
Because he's bombastic, and you can kind of play audio clips of him. And he's
Always doing something crazy, like going to
Right.
prison for threatening some other Nazi. You know what I mean? Like crazy
Exactly.
stuff.
But this is just sad. This is just, it's just, yeah.
This is
All
a
right.
man who's obviously hated himself for a long time, and he unfortunately turned that outward into a hatred of the whole world.
Yeah.
And he hurt a lot of people, but I think the person he has hurt the most is himself. So
Yeah, at this point, that's probably true. All right. Molly, tell us where we can find more of your work on the internet.
yeah, if you want to be depressed by me in a long form podcast format, you can check out Weird Little Guys. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. It is people say that it's like a sort of spooky bedtime story vibe. I do my NPR voice, and there's music beds. It's very soothing, except I am talking about Nazis.
It is one of those things where occasionally I will just have my like podcast things playing as I go to bed, and then like Weird Little Guys pops up, and I know the intro, and everything, and it does start to like lull me to sleep just a little bit. Like, oh yes, this is But then of course for me, this would not be the only time I've fallen asleep listening to Nazis.
Right. It's got a good vibe. It's got great
I
music.
don't know as much. I was listening to. I happened to like fall asleep listening to the Daily Show one day, and I'm listening to the free stuff now. And it was fine because it's just if I'm listening to it and I'm listening to it at like 2x speed. So I've got these guys like yelling in my ear
That's
at like
not
super high
relaxing.
speed. No, it's not. But I'm having like nightmares where I'm like, listen, like Mike Enoch is yelling at me. And what lulled me back to awakeness was they do in the free feed now. They do Jesse jumps in and he does like little ad reads for the podcast. Hi, hope you're enjoying the show. You can get this for a paywall at trs.com, etc. And when I heard that thing, so I woke up and I'm like, oh, that was the ad. Okay, God, that was
You have to subscribe to premium to get more dreams.
Yes, exactly. No, that was that was bad. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on. Whittle Guys is a great, brilliant show. I really loved chatting with you about this horrible, horrible man. Please come back whenever you have anything else that you want to share with us. I hope you have a wonderful time feeling sad for Chris Cantwell, feeling pity for Chris Cantwell. Let's put it that way.
A miserable emotional situation for everyone involved, truly. But thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you very much.